Ο οικολογικός προσανατολισμός της κοινής αγροτικής πολιτικής, που θα αποτελεί και προαπαιτούμενο για την καταβολή μέρους των επιδοτήσεων, φαίνεται να απασχολεί πανευρωπαϊκά. Ερωτηθείς σχετικά με τη χρήση των φυτοφαρμάκων, ο Επίτροπος τόνισε ότι η χρήση τους ουσιαστικά θα λειτουργεί ανασταλτικά για τις οικολογικά προσανατολισμένες καλλιέργειες.
It's not what I think personally, but what the legislative text said, because now the role of the Commission with the delegated acts is to ensure the implementation of the political agreements. So we want to do this, not to come with new rules or with new opinions specific of the Commission. And the political agreement says very clear that the ecological focus area has to ensure the improvement of the biodiversity in a farm. So if this ecological focus area are cultivated with the crops and based mainly on fertilizer of pesticide, how a farmer can prove that they will create more with this ecological focus area for biodiversity?
Αξίζει να αναφερθεί ότι το πρασίνισμα της κοινής αγροτικής πολιτικής θα ξεκινήσει από το 2015. Είναι υποχρεωτικό προκειμένου οι αγρότες να εισπράξουν το 30% των άμεσων ενισχύσεων και οι καλλιεργητές οφείλουν να ακολουθήσουν τα εξής 3 βασικά μέτρα: τη διατήρηση των μόνιμων βοσκοτόπων, τη διαφοροποίηση των καλλιεργειών και τη διατήρηση μιας περιοχής οικολογικής έκτασης, που θα αφορά το 5% της αρρώσιμης έκτασης για εκμεταλλεύσεις άνω των 15 εκταρίων, δηλαδή μεγαλύτερων των 150 στρεμμάτων. Τα συγκεκριμένα προαπαιτούμενα προβληματίζουν τη χώρα μας, καθώς θέτουν νέα δεδομένα και νέες δυσκολίες στον αγροτικό κόσμο και εναπόκειται, σύμφωνα και με την Ευρωπαϊκή Επιτροπή, στην κάθε κυβέρνηση να αποφασίσει πώς τελικά θα λειτουργήσει μέσα στο κράτος η κοινή αγροτική πολιτική. Ένα άλλο ζήτημα που έρχεται στο προσκήνιο με τη νέα κοινή αγροτική πολιτική είναι η βιολογική γεωργία, που θεωρείται ως διέξοδος για τους αγρότες. Σε όλη την Ευρώπη υπάρχει η πεποίθηση πως η ζήτηση των βιολογικών προϊόντων θα αυξηθεί σταδιακά και πως οι αγρότες θα αποκομίσουν σημαντικά ωφέλη.
The greening payments and the 30% direct payments for farmers going beyond basic requirements for delivering of environmental and climatic benefits. Organic farmers are ipso facto benefiting from these payments. I would also like to draw your attention that the new measure under the Rural Development Regulation, specific aiming at maintaining and conversion of to organic farming. As the CAP reform is now wrapped up, we need to think about other CAP measures like organics, promotion, quality. And that's why the Commissioner Cholos launched in June 2012 an impact assessment for the review of the current organic farming regulation and political framework. This impact assessment was conducted within an unprecedented consultation process, including hearings with stakeholders a very wide public consultation that attracted enormous public interest. I have to tell you that we had 45,000 replies, which is almost a record in agricultural policy, and several enlarged consultative committees. The organic market started as a very niche market in agricultural policy. It's very niche in the 90s, but it is now representing about 20 billion euros a year. It's still very small compared to the overall importance of the food sector, but it's growing very, very fast, an average of 7 to 8%, depending on member states, in spite of the economic crisis. Also, there's an increasingly diversity of products, a wider range of products, and organics is moving up the distribution chain. We have, in the impact assessment, identified that the major constraint that the EU political and legislative framework does not provide a basis for sustainable development of organic productions. We have found that there is unfair competition and issues in the internal market. There are obstacles to the development of the domestic supply, and there's a risk of loss of consumer confidence. I would like to tell you that a favorable import system facilitates imports and provokes unfair competition in the EU market. We do not have a specific export policy for organic farming sector. We need more support, in particular in research and innovation at farming level. We have very high costs of certification inspection, driving away from the sector very small farmers. We have different application of the same rules in different member states. We have thresholds of non-authorized substances being applied differently all over Europe.
About organic products, do you think that in an environment of crisis it's okay to ask farmers to cultivate organic products, and we know that organic cultivation costs more?
No, well, the key point is that farmers have the flexibility to follow market signals. And if we see an increase in demand from consumers, then farmers can respond, and policy is facilitating that change rather than hindering. And there's no question that the CAP is now much more flexible than it was in the past, so that farmers can respond to this demand. And for organics, for example, we are continuing to see an increase in demand across the EU by 7 or 8% a year, in spite of the economic crisis. So what we have is a system whereby the policy enables farmers to take advantage of that additional market opportunity.
Ο οικονομικός σύμβουλος Τόμας Γκαρσία Αζαρκάτε, μιλώντας κυρίως για τον γαλακτοκομικό τομέα, υπογράμμισε την ανάγκη ίδρυσης ενός παρατηρητηρίου για την τιμή και την αγορά του γάλακτος.
La conférence lait a conclu qu'il était utile d'avoir un observatoire des prix et des marchés pour le lait. Et nous avons pris cet engagement très au sérieux. La demande politique est forte et la demande politique est logique. Le marché du lait se caractérise par une grande volatilité, beaucoup plus importante d'ailleurs que dans d'autres secteurs, et un lien extrêmement fort entre les prix communautaires aux producteurs et les prix mondiaux. Il faut donc connaître, comprendre, anticiper. Le laboratoire, l'observatoire des prix et des marchés pour le lait sera chargé de l'analyse sur le court terme, de présenter ces données au secteur, de les discuter avec le secteur et de les diffuser. Donc l'augmentation de la transparence pour nous est importante sous plusieurs points de vue. D'abord pour responsabiliser les opérateurs de la chaîne alimentaire, pour qu'ils sachent quelles sont les prévisions les plus normales qui se retrouvent aujourd'hui sur le marché, et aussi pour l'administration, puisque avec les moyens budgétaires que nous avons, nous devons suivre les marchés et intervenir en cas de crise, et le faire de la manière la plus intelligente, la plus efficace, la plus efficiente possible avec les fonds qui nous sont donnés.
Στην αναθεώρηση της κοινής αγροτικής πολιτικής δίνεται μεγάλη σημασία στο κομμάτι της καινοτομίας και της προώθησης των αγροτικών προϊόντων. Ο ομιλητής Hans Barth, ειδικός στην προώθηση των προϊόντων, αναφέρθηκε στην προσπάθεια που γίνεται σε τρίτες χώρες ώστε να μάθουν τα ευρωπαϊκά προϊόντα και κυρίως αυτά που είναι προστατευόμενης ονομασίας προέλευσης και προστατευόμενης γεωγραφικής ένδειξης.
Just to mention two regulations which are actually governing the promotion scheme, and that is Regulation 3 of 2008 and Regulation 501 of 2008. Now, those regulations do allow already today to do two different kinds of actions. First, actions at the initiative of the Commission, and second, co-financing promotion programs submitted by organizations of the member state. I would quickly take you through to the Commission's own initiatives. What are those? It's high-level trade missions, it's participation at trade fairs or other specific campaigns. For the moment we have a budget of 1 million, 1.5 next year for those actions, and in the future with the reform this is meant to be considerably increased. High-level missions of the Commissioner, I would just quote as an example the last one, that was beginning of November, to Japan and South Korea. The Commissioner was accompanied by 32 business people from Europe. They came from 14 member states, and they were mainly representing EU quality schemes. Now, what do we do during those high-level missions? Of course, the Commissioner has the political talks to advance on free trade agreements or other trade talks. And in parallel, we are offering to the business delegation then seminars to get into the market, get to know the market, the customs, the people, the taste. And we also offer them individual business-to-business meetings, so that for all the 32 participants we had organized business-to-business meetings for them. And then, last but not least, we try to have a large media cooperation with media at large, not only written, television, blog, etc. we also try to have accompanying activities during those high-level visits, and that is, we had in Japan, we had a Taste of Europe week in 10 Tokyo restaurants, again with an accompanying media activity, a cooperation with a culinary institute, a student contest, and lessons, recipes on PDO, PGIs, and of course I should mention that in the 10 Tokyo restaurants, the recipes were all with PDO, PGI products. Not exclusively, but at least in every recipe there was something in it. At that. Also in cinemas, we organized some sampling, some tastings. And in South Korea, there is one street which was a bit dodgy until some 10 or 15 years ago, which is now very popular among youngsters. And there we had also a whole series of activities in restaurants and in supermarkets and shops. Now, let's turn to the co-financed programs. Co-financed programs means that professional organizations from the member states, they can apply for a proposal, a promotion or information proposal, and those are then co-financed by the European Union. If they are accepted, they are co-financed by the European Union by 50% and up to 30% by the member state. Now, today the distribution is around 1/3 of those do target third countries, and 2/3 are for the internal market. Which kind of products are being co-financed today? The most important one is fruit and vegetables with 18.5%, followed by dairy products with 14%, and then around 25% for PDO, PGIs, including wine and spirits.
Η Κρίστιαν Κυρκέτερ Ντεφύρον από την Ευρωπαϊκή Σύμπραξη για την Καινοτομία αναφέρθηκε στην ανάγκη συνεργασίας μεταξύ αγροτών και ερευνητών, ώστε να υπάρξουν απτά συμπεράσματα που θα διευκολύνουν τον αγροτικό κόσμο.
If you look at it, we have a lot of excellent research already, and we're now investing even more in research. We have 4 billion euros set aside for research in agriculture bioeconomy under the Horizon 2020, which is the EU framework for research that goes from next year to 2020. But one of the problems is that it's hard to get research out of the test tubes. It's hard to translate the research into concrete results on the ground. And I was at a recent seminar, and someone told me that the problem is fundamentally that researchers want to create more knowledge, and farmers want to create useful solutions, and that these two agendas rarely meet or match. And this is in fact what we're trying to tackle in the EIP, because we want to connect our two key policies, which is the rural development policy and the research policy. And by doing this, we want to create conditions that can bring farmers into research projects and that can bring research into the fields. Because sometimes one idea plus one idea actually equals 3 ideas or even more ideas. And if we mobilize both scientific and practical knowledge, we improve the speed of uptake, and we also make it easier to target the research agenda to the real needs of the sector. The EIP is a very new concept. It was launched this year, and so far we've been creating structures, policy conditions, funding mechanisms, what you could call the optimal framework. But now we're at the point where we need to get to the practical side. 2014 will be the year where it really takes off. First, we have money coming on tap in rural development programs for concrete innovation projects. These will often be pharma-driven, but they will also bring researchers, advisors, businesses, NGOs, you can continue, all of different kind of actors into the project groups, which we call operational groups in the EIP terminology. And these groups will test concrete ideas or innovative solutions that you have seen it works in one country. Can we adapt it a little bit and make it work in our country, for instance? And you may ask, what kind of innovation are you talking about? Which sectors? And I would actually go almost as far as saying the sky is the limit, as long as it's linked to agricultural productivity or sustainability or forestry, of course. And in terms of innovation, I think it's also clear to stress that for us, innovation is not just about high-tech or biotech. It's much more than that. It's products, it's processes, it's practices, it's social innovation, organizational innovations. It's really innovation in the broadest concept.
Η αναθεώρηση της κοινής αγροτικής πολιτικής κινείται επομένως σε ποικίλους άξονες που αφορούν μεταξύ άλλων την οικολογία και τη βιοποικιλότητα, τη βιολογική γεωργία, την καινοτομία, το εμπόριο και τις εξαγωγές. Τυπικά, η εφαρμογή της νέας κοινής αγροτικής πολιτικής ξεκινάει το τρέχον έτος και θα διαρκέσει μέχρι το 2020. Από τις Βρυξέλλες σας αφήνουμε. Μέχρι την επόμενη εβδομάδα να είστε όλοι καλά.
Πρατήριο υγρών καυσίμων Τσαρούχας Φώτης στην είσοδο της Πορταριάς. Πετρέλαιο θέρμανσης και κίνησης, καυσόξυλα και πέλετ, μοναδικές τιμές και άριστη ποιότητα. Σε μας μπορείτε να βρείτε λιπαντικά, ανταλλακτικά, αεροψάλιδα, αλυσοπρίωνα στις καλύτερες τιμές της αγοράς. Πρατήριο υγρών καυσίμων Τσαρούχας Φώτης στην είσοδο της Πορταριάς.
Extreme hairstyle.
Στα νέα μουδανιά.
Extensions, body piercing.
Τρέσες.
Tribal.
Κομμώσεις.
Extreme hairstyle.
Στα νέα μουδανιά.